Fascinating. Down in Florida, when Obamacare was put together, before Obamacare, we had a federal program, what's it called, LIPS, TIPS, something like that? LIP,
yeah, LIP.
Low Income Pool. We had a federal program because during the Reagan administration, actually at the, I believe at the request of Ronald Reagan himself, we passed a law that said that if a person shows up at an ER, they've got to be treated. Whether they got insurance, whether they got money, whether you don't even know their name, they got to be treated. Prior to that, they used to turn people away from ERs all the time. People died literally on the streets out in front of hospitals because they couldn't afford to pay the bill. So the way that we paid it was through this low-income pool, this program that passed the money to the hospitals for the ERs. Well, when Obamacare was put together, the assumption was everybody will have health insurance, particularly all the poor people, because everybody will have access to Medicaid. John Roberts blew a hole in that with a Supreme Court decision, that said, no, states can opt out. And so now down in Florida, you've got Rick Scott saying, I don't want to take any Obamacare money, but I would like to keep taking that LIP money. And LIP is being phased out because there's no need for it because the states now have Obamacare. I mean, they've got Medicaid. This is just pathetic. I mean, I'm just astounded. And then the Republicans in the Florida legislature, what was it, today or yesterday, just walked out, said that's it, we're closing shop 3 days early.
Well, the governor can call him back at any time. Just
Can
like
he?
Yes, any state
Will he?
legislature. I don't know. We'll see. But the interesting thing about it is you're saying, hey, the federal government said we're going to phase out the program, and that's not necessarily true. They said that they would give them.
It's part of the law.
They said that they would give him, the state, the money, the $2 billion, if they chose to expand Obamacare in the
But it would be as Medicaid, not as LIP money.
Well, but this is the difference. They would have gave them both.
No,
Both
but Rick
of them
Scott
would
is
have been
saying, I don't want anything called Obamacare, I just want the LIP money, which is not the way the law is written. I mean, he's, for political purposes,
this is the real issue at hand. Given the fact that the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare said that they would only give the money or continue to floor the $2 billion if the state said that they would expand Obamacare into their state. Yeah. They said, we will continue to fund this $2 billion if you do that. Yeah. Well, that's against the law. The U.S. Supreme Court said that they cannot coerce a state
well, that's fine.
to
Tell them to
accept
stop. But I think you say this is what it's really about. I think what it's really about is Charlene Dill. And she's, one of those 17,000 people who, according to the Harvard University, is going to die this year because Republicans are refusing to expand Medicaid. Yeah. She was a resident of Florida. She had a heart condition. Mm-hmm. She was the mother of 3. She was working 3 jobs. And still living in poverty, and she could not afford to take her medication that particular month, and she died.
And you know what?
Because her blood is on Rick Scott's hands.
I absolutely agree with you. I say shame on the federal government for trying to take that $2 billion away.
Here's the
shame on Rick Scott.
Here's the thing that Democrats can't stand. It's a Republican that will stand on principle.
There's no principle here.
Yes, there is. There's absolutely
the principle. Originally say he was going to take. Yeah.
What's the principle? Our people should die if they're poor and they're working at McDonald's?
The principle is that the states should not be tethered. We've even talked about this on a previous show. The Republicans do not believe that states should be tethered to the federal government, literally tethered and unable to do anything, literally for the rest of history.
Tell that to Iowa when we're talking about the Farm Bill. You know that Republicans are the biggest hypocrites on earth when it comes to this stuff. I give you a long list.
You're seeing that change.
Tell me, no, we're not.
Iowa and the
absolutely
Farm
are
Bill,
not. Joni Ernst. The I'm going to cut their nuts off lady, right? The pig castrator. She got $500,000 her family got from, in welfare from the federal government. She's not out there saying, hey, let's stop all this money going to Iowa. I'm sorry, Christy, you're...
No, I don't have a particularly nuanced point. I just am so tired of watching Republican governors find ways to say no to health care for poor people because they don't want it to be tagged, with Obama's, the Obama's dirty money somehow. And, and I think that it's really a shame. And Rick Scott in particular has no leg to stand on here because, as you know, he's flip-flopped on this exact point as to whether or not he is going to take, money from the government or not to...
And you're absolutely right. He did flip-flop on the issue. There's no question about that. But at the same time, the reason that he flip-flopped is because the legislature said no. we're not going to allow you to take the money.
Right, and the
That's
legislature
why
said
it
no
died in committee,
because the
simply
Koch
put.
brothers started calling up Republicans.
No, you keep going with this Koch brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
The Koch brother.
Oh, yeah.
he's not standing on principle here. This is not that he has some larger philosophical point. You know, it's
Absolutely,
yeah.
he's standing on principle. Governor Greg
What is the
Abbott is
principle?
joining him. They're both that they
our state should not
they
take federal money?
That they should not be made forced
Great.
by the government to
the day that Rick
expand
Scott says, I'm not
Medicaid.
going to take any more federal highway funds, I will believe you.
That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about the expansion of Medicaid specifically.
Wait a minute. So you're saying, let me get this straight, Brian, because my head's about to explode. You're saying that when Rick Scott says, yes, I would be glad to take your farm support for our orange growers, and I would be glad to take your your highway funds, which are going to help orange trees and roads, but I'm not going to take your money that's going to save the lives of the citizens of my state, that there's some kind of principle involved in there?
Absolutely, there's a
What's
principle.
the principle? To hell with people? We like roads and oranges?
No. People pay taxes, so they're just sending that money back to the state where people have paid into the system.
The oranges didn't pay taxes. The roads didn't pay taxes. I mean,
Tethering more and more citizens to the federal government, where they will never be able to get out of
all those
government
citizens who are
dependency.
driving on federally funded roads.
I mean, you got to keep in
terrible
mind
burden
too,
they have to bear to
when you
drive on
talk-
those federal roads.
When you talk
It's a
about the
tough
ACA, we know that there's going to be a 10% decrease in funding. Regardless of what they get from the federal government, they have to figure out how
You know
they're going to fill that
how
hole.
much the federal government is picking up for base Medicaid?
It doesn't
right
matter. They're borrowing money from China.
now? No,
So it's not like it's money in which
Exactly.
we're getting from taxpayers. We're
well,
borrowing
if
money
you want to
left
talk
and
about
right.
that, we can talk about how important it is to roll back the Reagan tax cuts. That's fine with me.
I mean,
but that's another conversation.
That's another conversation, as you said. But we got to keep in mind where this money is going and how we're going to fill these holes when they come up. You end up raising taxes. That's what you do.
Yeah, and we should. We absolutely should. We are the richest nation on
When
on
you
Earth.
sign up to
And-
have them raise your taxes,
Yours
and
first.
then-
Yours first.
And
I'm
then,
at the
you
front
know,
of the
we'll
list.
make it elective.
I am
Whoever wants to pay more, they pay
I am
more.
at the front of the list. I do not want to be a rich man in a poor country, and I think that the majority of people who have some considerable wealth, and I'm not a considerable wealth guy, but I do okay.
But you live on a yacht, though.
I do actually, and I think that most people would rather live in a first world country with good high-speed rail and good infrastructure and good schools, rather than live in a third world country, which is what 35 years of Reaganomics has turned this country into. We are a devolving country, yeah, But anyway, it's okay. I've done my rant. Anybody want to add anything to that? We'll move along. Okay. Someone's finally being punished over the torture revelations, CIA torture revelations. Guess who? Alyssa Starzak is the Republicans in the Senate trying to block the nomination of Alyssa Starzak to serve as general counsel to the Army. The reason? That while working as a staffer for the Senate Intelligence Committee, she helped uncover the so-called Panetta Review. This is a set of internal CIA files that played a role in the Senate's torture investigation. So in the 90 seconds we got left.
You know, I was very disappointed when I learned about this because the CIA violated the agreement between them and the Senate. So if anyone's head should roll, it shouldn't be hers. It should be the CIA under the Obama administration.
We need whistleblower reform in this country.
Absolutely, right. Yeah, it shouldn't be the whistleblower who gets punished for this. It should be, I don't know, any number of people. The torturers, their superiors, the people who approved the policy.
People who destroyed the tapes.
Sure, any of those people well before it should have been this woman.
Brian.
I think there's an internal debate going on within the Republican Party. I think people who value low government, like less government power, respect this woman and respect people like Senator Dianne Feinstein, who did a hero's job in doing the torture report. And so I think this is one of the few issues where Democrats and a lot of Republicans actually agree.
Is it a lot of Republicans? Because my sense of, and I've had this conversation with Steve King a few times on there, my sense of Republicans' small government thing is that they only want small government when government is the potential force to restrain the power of big money. But when government is not being used to constrain big money, that's fine if it's a big government.
I think there are a lot of Republicans that are very concerned about what was found in the torture report. I think there's a slow burn, a slow boil.
Do something about it? They control the House and Senate.
I think some of them are working to.
You think so?
Yeah, I really do.
Yeah, okay. We'll see. We'll see where this all goes. Brian Christie, Giano, thank you so much for being with us tonight. It's great.